everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be doing a quick comparison with a 2020 Dodge Challenger Hellcat Widebody and a 2021 Nissan GT-R. First and foremost though, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry H. Miller Dodge Ram Jeep Chrysler here in Sandy, Utah for giving me some time with this Widebody Hellcat. Check out their inventory in the description down below. And for the first part of the video, we're going to do a walk around with both the cars, and then we're going to take them out, drive them, and go over how they drive differently, and let's get into the video. Now let's pop under the hoods of both of the vehicles. So starting over here with the Widebody Hellcat, we have a supercharged 6.2 liter V8 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now power outputs are 717 horsepower and then 656 pound-feet of torque. Absolutely insane. Now coming over to the GT-R, we have a twin turbo 3.8 liter V6 that goes through a 6-speed dual clutch automatic transmission. Power outputs are 565 horsepower and then 467 pound-feet of torque. So yes, this does have a smaller engine with less power and less torque, but the crazy part is the 0 to 60 with the GT-R is quicker because it has all-wheel drive and a crazy launch control system, and this has rear-wheel drive, doesn't get any traction. So I mean, you have two completely different modes, right? You've got all-wheel drive grip on one side, and then you have rear-wheel drive fun and craziness on the other side. Now let's quickly go over the exterior elements on both of the cars. We'll start over here with the Widebody Hellcat. So first off, I love the matte black hood, and this orange paint is just absolutely crazy. We've got the dual snorkel hood, and then coming down below, we've got the Hellcat signature lights with the SRT Hellcat logo. Tons of venting to feed that big supercharged V8, and then you've got the massive chin splitter right there at the bottom portion. But yeah, it just has that cool aggressive look. Coming over here to the GT-R, again, the paint looks absolutely fantastic. We've got the Nakaducks there in the center portion, and then you've got the GT-R's signature lights, and then coming down below, I kind of like this accent piece. Even though it's not real venting, it still looks good. We've got parking sensors on the front. We've got the tiny GT-R logo right there. Look how small the venting is on the GT-R compared to the Hellcat, because obviously the Hellcat has a much bigger engine. And then you guys can see the front splitter and the bodywork there at the bottom. But yeah, both of them, I mean, from a front end perspective, I really like the looks on both of them for different reasons. And they both look really nice together, actually. Now, first off, with the Hellcat, we've got 305mm tires that are part of this wide body package, 20-inch wheels. The GT-R also has 20-inch wheels, but the tires are not nearly as wide here with the GT-R. You actually do have a staggered setup, so we've got 255 here in the front and then 285 there in the rear, whereas with the Hellcat, it's all the same front and rear. Brembo brakes here with the GT-R, but guess what? The Hellcat also has Brembo brakes, so they both have a crazy brake setup. In terms of the wheel design, I think the wheels on both of them look really good. I mean, you guys can see definitely a nice touch there. We've got our GT-R logo right there, and then notice the venting on the side. And then here we've got the Hellcat logo, and just look how cool that is with the wider fender. But yeah, both these cars, even from the side, just look at that. The side profiles, looks really good. And then also with the mirrors, I actually do like the looks. And we'll go over the door handles a little bit later, but let's actually pop to the back first. And guess what? We've got spoilers on both of them. So you guys can see on the Hellcat, it's got a little bit more of a modest spoiler, I guess is the best way to put it. It kind of just curves over. It does have a backup camera integrated into it. We've got the LED lights here on the back, and then we've got the blacked out exhaust tip coverings here, parking sensors all there at the bottom portion. Just look how wide those tires are. Coming over to the GT-R, the wing is a lot bigger, a little bit more obnoxious. Again, we've got the LED lights that are signature of the GT-R. Titanium exhaust tips here in the back, which I think look fantastic. But yeah, just look at these two next to each other again. They both look really good. But now, let's quickly pop into the interiors. Now here's the door panel for the Widebody Hellcat. Now for the newer Hellcats, they've actually made the interior a lot nicer. We've got nice stitching and leather trim all over the door panels. Alcantara, more leather down below. I love how the door handle looks. And then here's the seat in the front. So again, you guys can see the leather with the Alcantara. You've got the Hellcat logo, and this does have back seats. The GT-R does too. I will say these back seats are a little bit more usable than the GT-R's. There's more space. There's your power adjustment on the seat, and then you guys can see the pedal layout. The steering wheel is automatically adjustable, and let's actually pop in. Step-in height's really good. It's easy to get in. Wait for it. Ah, yes. The sound of that supercharged V8 is unlike any other. So here's the steering wheel on the Hellcat. You guys can see we got the full leather steering wheel. Got the really nice paddles there on the back for that 8-speed automatic. And then there's a quick look at the gauge cluster for the Hellcat as well. It's red and aggressive, just looks absolutely fantastic. And again, if you guys are interested in this, like I said, the Dodge Ram Jeep Chrysler here in Sandy has it. It has 788 miles on it, so super low miles. It's a 2020, definitely worth looking into. Again, in the description down below. But there's a steering wheel setup. Here's the infotainment system. I'm not going to dive too deep into this because this is mostly about kind of like the difference with the performance metrics, but you've got a backup camera with this. It has heated and cooled seats. It's got like all that kind of normal luxury car stuff that you would expect from a car at the price point that the Hellcat is at. It even has navigation, but the fun stuff has to do with the SRT pages. So notice that we do have the drive modes that you can go through. So we've got our auto, we've got our custom sport, and our track. We've got the red key, so we have all 717 horsepower. But then if we go back to the SRT dashboard, this does have launch control. It's more like burnout mode because, again, 717 horsepower to the rear wheels. You just burn through the rubber. Tons of fun. It has line lock, which is the other burnout mode. So yes, both of them just do crazy stuff. Aside from that, it does come with the performance pages as well that shows you like real-time horsepower, real-time torque, all that kind of stuff. I will say the infotainment system on this, super responsive. And then coming down below, these are just analog controls rather. So like for the SRT page, the launch control, radio controls, the dual zone climate. Here's the shifter for that 8-speed automatic transmission. And again, you can use this or the paddles if you want to manually shift it yourself. And then we've got a couple cup holders. We have the center console. And then you guys can see the cold glove box. And again, we've got all of the soft touch and stitching there at the top. And then with this particular Hellcat, no sunroof. It is an option you can get on the car, but this one is an option with it, which is kind of my personal preference. Sunglass holder, all black headliner. Let's head to the GT-R. Now here's the door panel with the GT-R. So notice we've got tons of really nice leather. In 2017, they updated the GT-R and just added a bunch of nicer materials to the inside. Makes it feel like a much more upscale car. And even you've got nice stitching here on that part of the door handle. Now here are the seats in the GT-R. So you can see they look a little bit different than the seats in the Hellcat. The seats in the Hellcat are a little bit wider. And so with these seats, they're a little bit narrower. They kind of hold you in place a little bit more. Definitely have a cool bucket seat look. And like I said, you do have the back seats. They're a little bit smaller than the Hellcats, and then got the power adjustment right there. Heated seats, no air conditioned seat function. They are just heated. And then here's the pedal layout just down below. And then that's just for the parking sensors right there, and then the trunk release. And then let's pop here into the GT-R. Just as easy to get in, so both of them equally easy. Stop start buttons down here at the GT-R. It sounds so mechanical. Yes, the Hellcat's definitely louder. This just has this crazy mechanical sound when it starts up. Absolutely love it. But here's the steering wheel with the GT-R. You've got these paddles here on the back, a little bit bigger than the Hellcats. And then just like the Hellcat, you've got like practical stuff on the steering wheel for your daily driver stuff. And then we've got the airbag cover wrapped in leather with the GT-R logo. And here's the gauge cluster. Yes, it is a little bit more on the old school side compared to the Hellcat, but if you're into that analog look, then yep, this is gonna be the route to go. And look at the speedo. Like, it's like if you're going 40 miles an hour, it looks like you're not even moving from the speedo perspective because of how low it is and how far it goes. I think that's a pretty cool thing with the GT-R. Coming to the infotainment system, just like the Hellcat, it's got a backup camera, and again, it's got those parking sensors as well. Now, as for the rest of the infotainment system, you can see some performance figures like the boost gauge and all that kind of stuff with it. So it has that similar stuff to what you can see on the, obviously the Hellcat's not turbocharged, but like you can see performance figures with the performance pages. But with this screen, you guys can see a little bit more, again, on the older side of things from an aesthetic perspective, but usability wise, it's really easy to use. Now, coming down below, we've got the dual zone climate controls again in the GT-R, and then we've got our different drive modes down here. What I'd recommend is just hold everything down right here, put it into R mode, and trust me, you'll have some fun. Now on the suspension side of things, you actually do have a comfort mode. If you are daily driving this, then the comfort mode is great. So you just have to hold it down and then it'll go green for the comfort mode. But then you can have those two in sports. So you can have a little bit of fun. Now here's the shifter. You can't manually shift with the shifter. You can only use the paddles for the manual function, unlike with the Challenger. And then this is just kind of like an analog control for the infotainment system. Notice we've got all of our carbon fiber leather trim all around. some cup holders right here, and then you've got the center console with this that's got my wallet in it, and then again, nice leather all over the dash. And then coming to the glove box area, you guys can see that whole setup. And then finishing things off, this doesn't have a sunroof, just like the Hellcat all black headliner. Still get a sunglass holder here at the top, and well, let's take them out and we'll drive them back to back. I almost forgot to mention pricing. So the GT-R stickers for about $120,000 new, and then the Hellcat, depending on how many options you add to it, stickers for anywhere from in typically the $70,000 to $80,000 range. Again, brand new, so there's a little bit of a price difference, but the cool thing about both of these cars is they actually hold their value very well. And so you'll notice on the used market, the used GT-Rs and the used Hellcat widebodies will be pretty similar in price to the new ones. Right now, the market's a little bit crazier, so some of them are selling for over MSRP used, but in a normal market, right, they hold their value really well, and in this market, they've been actually going up in value, so it's pretty cool. We're reviewing two appreciating cars, but now let's actually take them out and drive them. Talk about visibility with the Hellcat widebody before we set off. So you guys can see visibility over the hood through both of the mirrors. They do have blind spot. And then here's throughout the rest of the rear. And let's set off. So we are setting off here in the widebody Hellcat first, and then we'll go to the GT-R second. Again, the sound with this car is amazing. Again, that sound you get from the supercharger and then the exhaust note from the V8, it's just such a nice combination. I'll actually pop it into the manual function right here. It's just so cool. It's such a cool, unique sound, and sadly, there's not a lot of cars that do stuff like that nowadays. And in this color is just so eye-catching. I think this is my favorite color on a Challenger now. That or plum crazy purple. It's hard to decide. Can you hear the supercharger? Oh, just such a nice sound. I absolutely love the sound you get from that supercharger. And that's just like, you just go partial throttle, right? And you just get it to whine a little bit. And so you can actually have some fun with this car at low speeds, just to kind of dive into the throttle a little bit, just to hear a little bit of the supercharger whine. So definitely lends to a fun experience. Yeah, such a cool sound. Absolutely love that. Now, aside from that, the thing that's great about the Challengers is they're so daily drivable. It's a very comfortable car. Even though this has over 700 horsepower, you could very easily daily drive it. Right now, it's super hot outside today. I've got the air-conditioned seat on, and on top of that, right, I've got the air conditioning, and the seats are very comfortable here with the Hellcat. And so you can go on really long trips with this, and you're not gonna feel uncomfortable, and it's not gonna feel cumbersome or anything like that. So there's definitely a huge plus with that. It's just a great daily driver car. But then again, you've got 717 horsepower on tap, which definitely lends to an exciting experience. And we're gonna have to be a little bit careful, right, because it's a Hellcat, but we'll get into it. It is so fast. The thing about the Hellcat, though, again, because it's rear-wheel drive, you have to just lightly go into the throttle. But once you fully hook up, the acceleration with this is just absolutely mind-boggling. Like, you get up to insane speeds way faster than you should. It is an experience, let me tell you. And so yeah, it's, again, and it adds to kind of like the excitement of this car, the fact that you don't get any traction, right? You can have some fun, right? You will burn through some rubber and all that, so just make sure you have a tire budget when you do get a Hellcat or a Hellcat Red Eye. But yeah, that's just what this car is all about. Way too much power, not enough tire, rear-wheel drive, tons of fun, And yeah, it lends to such an exciting driving experience. And so let's sum things up here for the Hellcat. So again, first off, this wide body package, you guys know I'm a huge fan of. I think that's the route to go. It looks absolutely fantastic from an exterior aesthetics perspective with the wide body, and you get the wider tires, which give you a little bit more grip. And you actually don't suffer on ride quality. Sometimes when you go wider tires, it rides rougher. This doesn't ride any rougher. And then interior wise, with these newer Hellcats, they've brought up the interior, so it's actually really nice on the inside, and then it drives really smooth. It's really comfortable, so you can daily drive it. But again, you've got over 700 horsepower on tap. You can listen to the supercharger and just have such a fun time. Like, just it sounds so good. And you know what, if you find a big open wide road, then you can just really get on it and just have an absolute blast. Like, just listen to that. Like, what cars sound like that nowadays? Like, absolutely nothing. So yeah, if you want a crazy fast, crazy fun car that's gonna get your heart racing because you're kind of like, you're dancing on the edge of grip all the time with this car when you accelerate, then the wide body Hellcat, it is such a blast. And it'll be interesting to see how this drives different compared to the Nissan GT-R, because right, they kind of go about things in a completely different manner. And once this light goes green, we'll get kind of like another little partial acceleration, and then we will go and yeah, so much fun. Now let's go and drive the GT-R. Let's talk about the visibility here in the GT-R before we set off. So there's your visibility of the hood through both of the mirrors, and then throughout the rest of the rear. And let's set off. So we're setting off here in the GT-R, and one thing I will say is I've pretty much only been driving this in the manual mode. The Hellcat, you can do either or, and it's great. This one does good in the automatic mode, but I feel like the manual mode is just the route to go with the GT-R. Like, it just feels right. But driving these back to back, it's interesting to feel the difference. Again, both of them are crazy high performance cars. Here with the GT-R, the thing that you instantly feel right off the bat is this feels less comfortable in a sense. Like, it's not bad, like, it still is a very smooth riding car. Again, if I pop it over into the comfort suspension, you could easily daily drive this. The Hellcat is a bigger car, right? It's a heavier car, and so it kind of has that bigger, heavier, substantial feel. So there's kind of that difference in it. I guess that it makes it feel somewhat more comfortable because it feels more planted, if that makes sense. Now, aside from that, this being lighter weight and not nearly as big, although they look like they're about the same length, this definitely feels kind of lighter on its feet. Like, the turn in, it feels like it can just turn in way faster. And again, it just overall, it feels way quicker on its feet compared to the Hellcat. So there is that difference. And I mean, right, it's kind of expected with the driving dynamics with both of them. The other thing to note, this sounds way more mechanical. The Hellcat, tons of exhaust, tons of supercharger. This isn't as loud, but it has this mechanical sound to it that I really enjoy. And you know what, it'd be hard to pick a soundtrack that I like more. Now, this with an exhaust, of course I'd go for that. The Hellcat, I don't feel like you really need an exhaust. That being said, again, I really like just the mechanical feel of the GT-R from the transmission, right? It's not necessarily the smoothest, but it has this cool mechanical feel. And then also from the sound, it definitely has this like crazy mechanical sound to it as well. So we're gonna get our acceleration here with the GT-R, and guess what? We can actually go full throttle because it is all-wheel drive. And that is a huge difference in the driving experience with both of these, is the fact that this has the all-wheel drive grip, whereas the Hellcat does not. So the Hellcat, like I said, once you get grip, that thing just piles on speed just in an insane manner. But the trouble is getting grip, whereas this, you have so much grip, and so any point you can just go full throttle. You're always gonna get grip. And I hope you guys can hear out of that titanium exhaust. It does make some cool burble sounds. But yeah, it just lends to a different driving experience. With the Hellcat, I just kind of want to cruise around, and then every so often I want to just go full throttle and just hold on for dear life. Whereas with the GT-R, since it gets such good grip, I kind of just want to drive it in a different manner, where I just want to see how fast I can go around corners, how fast I can accelerate. Like, I kind of has that like race car feel in the GT-R, whereas with the Hellcat, it's kind of like this, it scares you in a sense, and so it's just a different driving experience, but both of them are fun in their own right. And that'll get me into summing things up here with the GT-R. So again, looks perspective, I think that this looks so good on the outside. I know some people aren't necessarily a fan of the GT-R styling, and the thing that's funny is both of these cars, their styling has been out for quite some time, right? The Challenger pays homage to the older Challengers, and then this with the GT-R, it pays some homage to the older GT-Rs, but then on top of that, it's been out since 2009 with this, you know, looking body style. And so it is kind of like an older car, if that makes sense. But I still think it's really good looking. Definitely both of them turn heads because they're both bright colors and because they both look really cool. Aside from the styling, from an interior perspective, it's a really nice interior. It would be cool if it had cooled seats, but I mean, it's not a huge deal that it doesn't. Aside from that, with the performance, you can't do, I mean, you can do that with the Hellcat, but you better hold on for dear life, because you're gonna be spinning and you don't wanna end up in the side of the road. So again, it's such a fun, exciting driving experience, and it just depends on what you want. So if you want a car that's gonna scare you half to death, that you're never gonna get traction in, that you're just gonna have to just be wrestling with it all the time, Hellcat. If you want a car that you can drive insanely fast, you can go around corners at speeds that you didn't think possible, that's the type of driving you want to do, just crazy performance driving, then the GT-R. I know this is a weird comparison, but I feel like there's got to be some people cross-shopping both of these, and so it just depends on what you're looking for from a driving experience. Again, do you want to be on the edge all the time, or do you want to have something that is so much more capable than your skills? Like, the skill set that you would need to get to the limits of the GT-R is just crazy. Like, I'm serious, this car, I guess it scares me in a sense, because I will go around corners with this car at crazy speeds, and it just does it, and you're like, how? It just defies physics. Now that's gonna sum things up with our comparison with this wide body Hellcat Challenger and this Nissan GT-R. Again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Dodge Ram Jeep Chrysler here in Sandy, Utah for giving me some time with this wide body Hellcat. Check out their inventory in the description down below. I'll see all of you in that next video.